I want to talk to you today about my comfort BLs. I kind of randomly thought of doing this episode after I just filmed one not too long ago about a current BL that I'm watching that I'm kind of calling my guilty pleasure because it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And I was like, why am I watching this? And then it had me thinking about some of the BLs that I've watched that I've really come to enjoy, and it just got me thinking about the comfort BLs. Probably missing out on some because as I said, this was kind of like a random idea. Maybe some of these are obvious choices, maybe some of them are not. I guess we'll see. And there's definitely a couple of these BLs that actually just came out this year in 2024. Hi, I'm Monique. I am the host of Off by Purple Art podcast, where I talk to you about K-dramas, C-dramas, BTS, and so much more. And I guess so much more is including BLs. I'm talking a lot more about BLs lately. I've gotten back into watching that genre. I kind of took a pause from it for a bit around the 2021, 2022 era, but I was watching BLs, I think, from early 2019 and onwards. And then, as I said, I took that break, and then I really got back into it last year, along with my renewed interest in a lot of like Asian media. So I ended up getting back into watching K-dramas a lot, and that's across the board. And a lot of Taiwanese productions and Japanese productions. So I've kind of slowly re-immersed myself back in. So today's podcast is going to be all about the BLs that I have come to find as comfort BLs, ones that I can rewatch so many times. The first one I have to talk about is the Eclipse. Now this one, I think it has a lot of mixed reviews, and I understand why. Some of the storytelling did fall apart, definitely towards the later half of the show. I believe it had 12 episodes in its original airing, and it was on GMM TV. But this was the show that introduced me to Cal and First, and I love their chemistry and I love their interactions. Their friendship also seems to be really special, and I really enjoy like the behind the scenes clips of them. But I thought their chemistry was next level in this show, and it's one of the main reasons why I continuously go back and watch the show. And since it's so readily available on YouTube, it's very easily accessible. But The Eclipse is, as a basic synopsis, is a story about an all-boys school that's very prestigious, and there's a lot of rumors at this school that there is this interesting curse that hangs over the school, and that every solar eclipse that there is the potential that students that misbehave or act out will potentially be forever cursed by the power of the solar eclipse. So it's a very weird curse, and the way the show talks about it in the beginning doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But I can tell you, the introduction of Anne and Ak's romance really sells you. And to me, Cal and First really did a great job in this show. Anne is like this student that is like a late transfer to this prestigious all-boys school, and he specifically comes in because he wants to investigate the death of his uncle, who was a former teacher at this institution, and he wants to find out whether that had anything to do with the curse or what he believes is foul play towards his uncle. And then he encounters Act, who is like a prefector. He is like a straight A student, and he is a part of the student body of prefectors that essentially enforce the rules to ensure that students don't act out, so they don't enact this curse that supposedly hangs over the school. And they brush heads a lot because their ideologies are so incredibly different. And to be honest, it can be a little cheesy and a little corny at times, but the thing that keeps me coming back to the show is just the incredible chemistry between them. I love this damn show so much, and I think the first episode where they kissed, where it actually turned out to be a dream sequence, as aggravating as that is, it was probably one of the best first kisses I've seen in a BL drama, because there wasn't like this overwrought music in the background, not this like crazy lighting scheme and just over dramatics for over dramatic's sake. It was just such a beautiful, quiet moment, and the director, I think, made a really ingenious choice in stripping the scene of music, and you could just hear their breathing and tension, and the fact that Ak, who's been really standoffish towards Ayan, kind of in that moment saw his true vulnerability and decided to comfort him, and then they kind of just melted together. I think it's just really, really good storytelling in that moment, and I just think that scene in particular was directed really well. And Ayan's love confession to Ak as well was really, really moving and stirring. I believe I have a podcast episode specifically talking about the Eclipse, so you can hear more of my thoughts there, but I just thought it was just an incredible show. My second one is a Japanese one, and it might not be the one that you're expecting me to say. I know a lot of BL watchers cite Cherry Magic, specifically the Japanese version and the mangas, and My Love Mix-Up, which are both great shows. I've watched them both, enjoyed them both, but my favorite of all time is Oldfashioned Cupcake. I love this one for so many reasons, but it's one of the few that actually features older characters. I love that the two men are well into their adulthood. One character, Tagawa, I believe is 29 in the show, and Nozu is 39. And their ages are definitely relevant to the overarching storyline, but I love that it was an adult BL taking place in the workplace, and it was about how mundane life can be and how you kind of get beaten down by the system once you have to just work under the oppressiveness of capitalism, and you just kind of get into routine. And the storyline basically around Old-Fashioned Cupcake is that Nozu essentially has kind of hit a rut in his life. He's 39 and he already believes he's over the hill, which is kind of crazy because 39 is still extremely young, and he doesn't really push himself to advance in his career, even though he's extremely talented and bright and has all the tools that he needs to advance in his career. But he's just kind of stuck in this routine, and he kind of acts older than he is, and he's kind of sucked the joy out of his own life. And then Tagawa, who is 29, who is a subordinate to him because Nozu is the boss of this office, has a really interesting friendship with Nozu, and he came into the company essentially because of Nozu. Nozu, I believe, was one of the interviewers for him, and Nozu ended up giving him some really life-changing advice and was a lot more fierce and I think a lot more proactive in his life when he had first met him. And I guess Tagawa wants to kind of reignite his passion for life, reignite Nozu's thirst for knowledge and expanding his horizons. And they particularly get into this conversation where they overlook like a bunch of young girls who are just joyful and having a good time, and Nozu kind of admits to him that he's jealous of younger women and how they can go for brunch and like take pictures for IG and gossip about boys, kind of sexist, kind of shallow take of how young women are. But essentially what he was trying to say was, I love how free they are and how much they have a thirst for life, and I kind of want that back. So Tagawa makes it his personal mission to reinvigorate Nozu's life by getting him to quote unquote act like a girl. And then they start doing a bunch of like coffee dates together. They start hitting up all these cafes where it's predominantly women, and they go for like super tasty baked goods, some amazing waffles, some parfaits. They get themselves some champagne. They take, the typical IG photos of, food aesthetic, if you're still into that type of aesthetic, because I know IG is very different now. And it kind of details their relationship morphing from like friends and kind of subordinates to something a lot deeper. I love this damn show so much. I think both actors had such amazing chemistry together. The tension is very good, and both characters flirt intentionally and unintentionally at the same time. And when the realization really hits that things are getting serious, I swear to God, like the chemistry was like leaping like off the screen. It's so short too. I think it's like about 5 episodes. But when I tell you I could rewatch that show like hundreds of times and never get bored, I think getting a season 2 is damn near impossible at this point. But the way I would personally fund a season 2, I have the mangas of Oldfashioned Cupcake and I am completely in love with it. It's such a good ass show, and the shots of the food will make you extraordinarily hungry. And I just love the really true to life, frank conversations that the characters have. There's not a lot of fluff in the dialogue. And I think part of that too is because the show is so short in the live action that they can't really beat around the bush too much. So the characters are very direct with one another, which I also really like. But I would love to see more BLs like this. Hell, I would love to see a damn GL like this. But it's such a good ass show and I enjoyed the hell out of it. And I still think it has amazing rewatch value. The next BL that I really love watching is My Personal Weatherman. Now hold on. I understand that this may not be the healthiest depiction of a romance. I get that. But let me have this. The chemistry and the visuals of the 2 lead actors are too much that I cannot ignore. I love My Personal Weatherman down. It is so good. The basic synopsis with this one is a popular weatherman who kind of is a beast behind closed doors. Like he's very pristine, very well put together, and he presents a really calm, even demeanor as he is as a personal weatherman. But when he closes the doors, he's a little out there. He's a little nuts. And he quote unquote has conjured up like a little slave contract with Yao, who is an erotic manga artist. And I say quote unquote slave contract because that's not what it is, but this show deals with classic miscommunication trope at a large scale. So if you're someone that does not like miscommunication tropes, you probably will get very frustrated with this show. But this is one of the very few couples and one of the very few shows that I've watched where the miscommunication trope is kind of part of its charm and the whole overall story. But these two live together. Their relationship is very chaotic, not always the most healthiest in presentation, but overall it's very entertaining, very short, very easy to consume, and I'm telling you the chemistry is next level, out of this world. And what I really like is that the actors that are within the show seem to be really happy and grateful with the success of it. And there's this thing where there's a lot of actors in the BL genre who are straight and are almost embarrassed about the fact that they have a BL in their discography, their filmography, whatever you want to call it. And I like that, at least with these guys, at least from what I've seen from behind the scenes stuff and like post interviews, that they're really grateful for the success that the show has brought them, the amount of attention, and that there isn't a level of shame in doing it. And I know that seems like like so basic, you know, for an actor to show appreciation for the work that has put them on the map, that so many people take joy from. But if you're in the BL space long enough, you've definitely seen actors that really turn a blind eye to the projects that really made them famous. And I know part of it too is that there's a lot of toxic fandom in BL spaces as well, and there's a lot of entitlement alongside fans. And I'm not really talking about that side. I'm just talking about the mere act of people enjoying your work and not being creepy and crazy towards you, but you being embarrassed that you had to take on a BL project to be put on. You know what I mean? That's what I'm getting at. But overall, I just really enjoyed My Personal Weatherman. The chemistry is scorching, and I mean scorching, between the 2 leads, and that's what I'm here for. I don't really care the pairing. I don't care if it's same sex. I don't care if it's opposite sex. I really genuinely don't care. All I care is essentially that we're dealing with consenting individuals that have phenomenal chemistry and look amazing together. And I don't even need the look amazing together part. I just need incredible chemistry with consenting individuals, and I'm pretty much on board. And this show, I adore it. It is easily a rewatch for me enjoy the hell out of it. Known and The Only One, which are BL dramas that are both Taiwanese productions and have both aired this year. And they already are among my favorite BLs ever, especially as of recent, The Only One. Now, The Only One has the advantage of recency bias because I literally just finished the show not too long ago, and I already have 3 podcast episodes about that, and I have another one upcoming. So I won't get into too much about The Only One, but Tian and Wang and them coming together because of their parents from separate marriages decide to come together, and both Tian and Wang are 17 years old, and they first find out that they're classmates and they're already kind of at each other's necks, and then they find out after the fact that they're now going to be stepbrothers because of the relationship revealed between their father and their mother, and neither one of them really likes that idea, and then they're forced under the same roof, and then they have to learn to get along. And then these two very isolated characters turn to one another and find home with one another. The way that this show has gripped my heart so quickly, it is astounding. I love the damn show so much. I went and purchased the original novel that is not in a language that I can read, but I went and purchased the original novel so I could support the author. And I was able to, after the fact, get English translations for the novel that The Only One is based off of. And I'm going to do a video comparing the book to the live adaptation. But let's just say I absolutely adore that show, and it became like my recent fave ever. Unknown as well. It's kind of starts off with a different premise with Qian and Yun, and Qian basically becoming the guardian of Yun when he's really young. Qian, I think, was about 14 and comes from a pretty broken home. His mom was unfortunately a recovering addict, and his father wasn't in the picture, and he suffered a lot of abuse, both physical and otherwise, and he essentially then ends up on his own really young, kind of joins a gang so that he can make ends meet, and then runs into Yun, who is someone that was abandoned on the street, and we don't really get a lot of information, but Qian kind of takes Yun under his wing, and they become kind of guardian to child / kind of stepbrothers, along with Qian's sister Lily. And then throughout the years, we kind of see them grow up into adulthood, and Yun in particular, he has these really strong feelings for Qian as an adult, and they border from brother to something more and something deeper, and how that creates such a turbulent emotions inside him, because there's all this gratitude of everything that Qian has done for him, but these changing feelings could potentially rip the entire family apart. And Unknown was just really, really good. The way it was filmed, the music choices, cinematography. I have several podcast episodes about Unknown as well. You can definitely tell the BLs I love because you'll see multiple podcasts about them and about me raving about them. But those two both aired this year, and they are both 12 episodes. I can say Unknown had a great ending. The Only One, I have issues with that ending, but I still think it's worth the watch, and it's definitely one of my favorites. Next BL, Until We Meet Again. Until We Meet Again, I think I want to credit as the BL that really got me into the genre. I can't remember what was the actual first BL that I watched. I usually cite Until We Meet Again, but it could have been Together and it could have been Tharnan type, but I don't really look upon those BLs favorably, to be honest. But Until We Meet Again, to me, still has a lot of rewatch value. That may not be for everyone, but for me personally, that was what really truly got me interested in the BL genre. And I remember my feelings from watching the first episode and just how much it emotionally got to me. I think one of my very first TikToks, to be honest, was about Until We Meet Again. It was so good, and this was just before the pandemic. So I have a lot of favorable memories towards it. The very, very bare bones basic synopsis of Until We Meet Again is Farm and Dean are the main characters, and they are the reincarnations of past lovers, Corn and In. And Corn and In had a very turbulent history with one another, had very violent deaths, and Farm and Dean are not only are the reincarnations of these two past lovers, but they carry a lot of the emotional PTSD of these lovers. And especially Farm in particular has been irrevocably affected by their deaths. And we go through this entire love story, which is basically the red string theory, which to me is such an unique romantic folktale. And I've talked about the red string theory before and its origins and how much it shows up in so many media in general. Like, so many love stories feature the red string theory, but I really liked how it was used in this show. And this show packs quite the emotional wallop. Some of the acting sometimes is a little stiff. There's a little bit of awkwardness here and there, but I feel like this show had so much heart in it, and I will never forget the emotions I had watching the very first episode and watching Farm and Dean kind of gravitate and find one another. And when Farm is able to crystallize it in his mind without really truly realizing it, that Dean is the love of his life, and the tears that came down his face, just coming to realization that this someone is really special, and I don't know why I'm reacting in such a strong and powerful way. I don't truly understand what my body is doing and what I'm feeling. And to me, there's just something so special about that show, and I love the hell out of it. The product placements, the music choices, even the friendship group, even the side couple. Just everything about Until We Meet Again is so special to me, and it still is a show that I can rewatch so many times. I actually did a rewatch of it not too long ago, and to me it still holds up. I love it so damn much. So those are basically my comfort BLs that I have rewatched again and again and again, that I have completely fallen in love with. There's other honorable mentions too. Bad Buddy was phenomenal. I didn't watch Bad Buddy in its first airing because I told you I took kind of a break from BL watching kind of in the 2021-2022 era. But I believe like Bad Buddy really holds up well. It's unfortunate what happened to the actors' relationship breakdown, but the chemistry was phenomenal in that show, and that to me did a great job of kind of enemies to lovers. That made sense. That wasn't in a fantasy setting. Honorable mention as well, Off Gun and Not Me. Not Me is such an amazing show. And I think that's kind of one of the reasons why I'm kind of hard on GMMTV, because I know what they're capable of when they actually put a lot of heart into their storytelling. For such a kooky premise of two identical twins basically taking on two entirely different personalities, and one of them ending up in critical condition and then the other kind of impersonating that twin, that sounds kind of crazy on paper, but the way it's executed and the chemistry between Off and Gun is just next level. That show to me is gold tier. That's an honorable mention. I have so many others, but my memory's escaping me. So let me know if you're watching this via YouTube. What are your favorite comfort BLs? Do you have any? Do you have any interest in watching any of these BLs if you haven't heard of them and haven't watched them yet? If you're watching this via YouTube, if you're listening via Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I love you. I appreciate you so much. Till the next one.